Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Thursday Night Motorsport at the GSRC, where we are starting with the high downforce legends, the LMP2s, live from Interlargos. We're moments away from the start of the race. Matt Distill has taken pole position with Chris Noble alongside him, and Adam Lavis in third, meaning our top three in the championship are our top three on the grid. Aaron Russell completes the second row with Leah and Barker behind them. Then it's Guy Leach and Wood, Faubourn and Christensen at the back of the top 10. Then we've got Baldwin, Bradbury, Proctor, Heaney, Lipsky, Reston and Baldwin, and I believe the race is underway. So apologies for being a little bit late at the start, but we will get you the racing as soon as we can. No big movements to catch you up on from what we've missed so far. Just a few drivers going up and down, swapping positions, and in fact now they've all returned to their original starting positions. As Liam and Barker continue to swap positions, the whole field has stayed together, which means there's been no big incidents on the first lap. And here we are, back to here we go. So this is the safety car taking them around. Apologies there, a bit of trouble getting the you to the right view, but we've got you to the right view now. So as you can tell, Distill behind the safety of Interlargos with a left-hander at the start. If Noble can get alongside going into the first corner, he has a great opportunity to take the lead going into turn 2, because that outside line becomes a very advantageous line as you go through the centre S to start the lap. Expect the safety car to peel away right around now. He'll dart into the pit lane, and our drivers will get underway as soon as the lights go green. They will be full throttle down to the first corner. Safety car with an illegal entry into the pit lane, but we'll forgive the safety car for that, and they are away straight away. Distill getting a really good jump on Noble, who's looking like he's coming under pressure from Russell, and Lavis behind them. Lavis, of course, in the green Castrol entry. He's under pressure from Ashley Lee. Ashley Lee backs out of it, thinks no point going down the inside into turn 1 because you'll not have the line you need into turn 2, and there's a contact there. Looks like the car in front of Ashley Lee started to spin before there was contact, so it might have been a little bit of net code. It might have just started to lose it by himself. We'll have to catch that again once we can. We're now following Aaron Russell, who's in third place. He's got Chris Noble directly ahead of him. It'll be interesting to see if these two work together at all. As you can see, running exactly the same livery, which makes me assume that they are indeed stable mates. Matt Distill is leading this championship, so they will want to catch him as quickly as possible and will not want that points lead to go any further. It is already a commanding lead, one that might not be able to be recovered in the 2 races that remain in this season, including this one. And the front three already putting a little bit of a gap to Adam Lavis. He'll be quite happy in 4th, I suspect. He's at 6th in the championship. Certainly one driver he wouldn't want ahead of him, but 2 of his main competition for that preferred place are Faubourn and Leach. And as you can see, Faubourn is in 5th place and Leach is in 7th place. So he will be quite happy with that. After that, Ashley Lear is the only other one that could realistically catch him, and he is in 9th place currently, so it's all looking good for Adam Lavis at this early stage of the race. Because we've got more than one race coming up for you, because it is sprint racing. Here's the sprint race 1, which will be a 15-minute race, and then we'll follow that up with some more entertainment afterwards. Bit back in the pack, we do have a couple of movers and shakers. Faubourn and Nick Wood, the big beneficiaries at the start of the race. Fauburn's up 4 places, Nick Wood is up 2, so Faubourn has gone from 9th into 5th place, which is a decent return, particularly in cars where it is fairly tricky to overtake. You want to get a lot of your overtaking done as early as you can before the field starts to spread out, before the impact of that dirty air can really impact you and make it difficult to keep up with the guy ahead, let alone to overtake him. And currently in 10th place is Brett Bradbury. He's got Adam Proctor and John Baldwin fighting him for the all-important 10th place. And the reason it's all important is that 10th place will become pole position for the second race, the 25-minute feature race that we have whenever we go sprint racing, and that can really make or break your round. If you get into 10th or 11th, it's a huge difference in how that second race is going to play out. So they will battle for this 10th place just as strongly as those battling for the lead. And interestingly, this is the start of the second main pack. You essentially have the top 10 as the first main pack, and then you have Leah a little bit by himself in 9th place, and you got Bradbury leading pretty much the rest of the field in 10th place, so everybody else still in with a realistic shot of getting that 10th, except for Brett Barker, who is down 9th place, is 31 seconds behind, so he is the only driver to have a major incident in the opening 3 laps of this race. To introduce myself, for those of you not familiar with my voice, I'm subbing for Sam Caban this week. My name's Liam Banks. Hopefully you've heard me around the place. Been commentating for a few seasons now, so we'll look at that. Yeah, that definitely looks like netcode. And alongside me on the pots and pans, I've got Josh Zuno, who has kindly stepped in at the last minute to cover for Daniel Saar, and we wish Daniel Saar the best on this Thursday, as he was unable to make it to the stream.
Yeah, how are you, Liam? Sorry about that start, guys. Just catching my breath, trying to work out which buttons to hit at the right time and get everything running. But we may as well cover off what we have up tonight, if you want, Liam.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you've already seen, we are starting the night off at Interlargos in Brazil for sprint races in the LMP2s. After that, and these are the conditions in Interlargos right now. Track temperature, I always get this mixed up. Track temperature 29 degrees, air temp 21, I believe that's correct. Humidity of 68%, 12 kilometers an hour wind, so that's not going to affect them, but pretty much perfect conditions. And as far as I can see, not expecting any rain, because is rain enabled on these cars?
Yeah, I believe there is definitely rain. It was a big debate when they first came out, as they were much quicker than the GTP class, which is meant to be 10 seconds a lap quicker on average around most tracks. And then the rain comes down, and you find that the IMSA races were being won by LMP2s. So definitely rain enabled, and fantastic car in the rain also.
Yeah, I haven't had that pleasure myself. As you can tell by the fact that I wasn't sure whether they were rated or not. I thought they would be, as they're endurance cars, but good to have confirmation from the ever knowledgeable Josh there. I can say I have driven these cars. They are quite beastly to drive. They will go on you quite quickly, but the amount of grip you have is insane. It's hard to comprehend having so much grip in a closed cockpit. It's usually something that is a feeling that's reserved for the open wheelers, and you do drive them a bit more like an open wheeler than you do the traditional saloon cars. So they are a bit of a unique beast to get a handle on.
Yeah, definitely. And they're one of those cars I find that I really struggled to nail the trail to the point that I wasn't kicking into TC on exit. So that's the big killer of lap times around here. When you hit that magic point where the car goes no, you're in TC, and she just bogs down, and you'll just watch people walk past you. Great car though.
It is a great car. It's a car that will teach you a fair bit about driving if you learn how to drive them quickly. And of course, you've got very short braking zones in these cars because they've got incredible braking performance. So it just makes that braking and trailing off the brake a lot faster, and it has to be a lot more instinctual. Because if you try and think your way through it, you won't get it right, because it's just too short and too quick a phase. As we watch Chris Noble really turning the screws on Matt Distil here. There won't be any fuel saving involved. This is only a 15-minute race, so this is on pure pace. And Distil and Noble have left Russell in the cold. He's dropped 2.5 seconds back and is actually coming under pressure from Adam Lavis, who was detached from the script to begin with. So I wonder if there has been a mistake from Aaron Russell, given his last lap time was over half second slower than Distil and Noble on the last lap. So that accounts for a chunk of that lap time. But certainly Noble looking like it might have the pace to sneak a victory here in our opening race of the evening. After the LMP2s, we will be taking you over to another fabulous circuit in Portimão in Portugal, and we will be joining the Porsche Cups there, and that should be an absolutely cracking race, because Portimão is actually, these are two, I'm going to put out there, I think these are the two best tracks in the service. Interlargos and Portimão, they're just absolutely fantastic roller coasters, so much undulation, so many different corners to really challenge every aspect of your driving. They are true two true drivers' circuit, so I think everybody racing tonight is a very lucky person indeed. There's been a change in that battle for the top 10, with Adam Proctor managed to get past Bradbury. So that is now Adam Proctor who will be taking pole position for the feature race in, about 10 minutes time, if things stay as they are. And he's actually got a decent lead over Bradbury, 2.5 seconds. Who in turn has 3 seconds on Martin Lipski, and that gap is growing, which makes me think Lipski may have made a mistake as I started talking there. Is that somebody on the grass? Well, did my mind play tricks on me then? No, I think I got cut out by the I think I got cut out by the black end of the barrier there. I was like, is that a black car on the grass? Oh, here we go, we've got a replay. John Baldwin going up the inside, not quite getting it right. And going for a spin. That's so easy to do. You can see he got a bit of oversteer, caught it, and then as he tries to turn again to actually finish making the corner, he gets a bunch of oversteer again, and that time he's not able to hold it. I'm not sure if there was contact, but it was a bold move from John Baldwin that didn't pay off, and it's left him down in 14th place as we watch Greg Heaney. So he's just going to go wide at the final corner. Really easy to do. It's fairly blind, that final corner, because of the way you're at the bottom of the hill, and it's kind of sloped. Just the undulation circuit make it really hard to spot that entry, and it makes it really hard to get a consistent turning point for that corner. But you need to carry speed because you're then going up the hill, and that going up the hill really punishes you if you're late getting on the throttle, or if you don't carry as much speed as you should through there. It punishes you severely, so you really have to attack that corner and get it turned in, but it's kind of blind, which makes it very, very hard to do. So you're going to see a lot of cars doing a little bit of that, but worse, just dipping 2 wheels off into the grass, or not quite getting it turned into the apex and having to get out the throttle a bit more, or just a bit more speed to make sure they don't do that. And I would not be surprised if towards the end of this race, if we've got some people battling, watch out there, because someone's going to loop it. I can almost guarantee it, such as how difficult that corner is. We then watch these two approach center S's. Like I said, you can attack on the outside, turn 1, you can get along the inside, and you've got a lovely line through the right hander, and usually the car on the outside through turn 2 will have to back out of it. If they can hang it on around the outside, you then got that long left hander that's absolutely flatten these cars before you come down to turn 4. Tricky downhill corner, you can carry more speed here than you think, but you do have to get the turning point absolutely correct, and then you flat out through 5. Heading up to 6, it's an uphill braking zone, and there's not much braking here. There might even be no braking in these cars. I haven't driven it recently to check, but it's a very, very, very fast corner, and it's a corner where you can gain or lose a lot of time in any car where the back end is a little bit unstable, because if you do get the back end unstable, you have to come out of it, or cost you a heap of lot of time. Then you've got the classic U-turn where you're going down on the entry, up on the exit, and then into this right-hander where Hamilton biffed off at Albon a few years ago, back when Albon was in the Red Bull. And then we get to that final corner that I was talking about, where you're trying to carry as much speed to get yourself up the hill as quick as possible, and hopefully with a nice little slipstream from, say, Matt Distill out front, so that you can catch them all the way down what is a fairly lengthy, what was the term that was used, artificial straight, because as you can see there's a big ass corner there, but it's flat out, so it's effectively a long straight from the final turn into the center S's. As we jump on board with Guy Lee, we're going to jump over to Nick Wood because he's turning the screws on Faubourg ahead of him. The gap at only 0.3 of a second. Is he going to be able to launch and move down to turn 4? It doesn't look like it. He'll tuck in behind. We might see the effect of the dirty air here. See if he washes out at all. No, he's got that turn quite nicely in the end. So you can see here they're approaching quarter 5. Let's see if he brakes. No, it looks like he's just modulating it on the throttle and just picking up when to pick up the throttle. So you want to drift out wide there. You have to actually really attack that corner, because if you're not out wide, you compromise your entry into the next corner, and then you go through this U-turn. Very easy to spin there if you get on the throttle too aggressively. But once you can get on the throttle, because you're going uphill, it does stabilize the car a bit. And then that right-hander, that's actually really, really tricky to get right, just because it falls away from you a bit. It's a little bit off camber. So you can find yourself drifting wider than you think you're going to as you start to turn in. until you get used to that sensation. And then yeah, we just saw Fobo and his back end twitching wildly as he tries to get on the power out of the final corner so that he can fend off the attack of Nick Wood. And thankfully for Fobo, it hasn't cost him much. He's controlled it well, but that very easily could have been game over for Fobo with only a couple of laps left in sprint race 1. Saw there a difference in line between Fobo and Wood. Could have been Wood just varying his line, trying to stay in the mirrors, but Fobo definitely going wide into corner 1 a little bit. And this is Lavis trying to attack Aaron Russell like we've cut to. So this is the podium battle for the sprint race. And Aaron Russell has been on the defensive for a while now, but finally Lavis got to a point where he can really start to put his car alongside Russell, try and compromise him into one of the two of these corners. Be interesting to see if Lavis goes for a lunge before the end of the race, or whether he won't go for an attack unless it is an absolutely gilt-edged opportunity with only a minute and a half to go and a guaranteed haul of points coming his way, more points than all of his main rivals for third place in the championship. Now approaching the final corner at the bottom of the hill. Let's see how they get it turned in. Russell gets it turned in absolutely nicely. You can see both of them not attacking the outside as much as when we saw Fobo and Wood. I think that's something you're going to see. The more confident drivers, the slightly quicker drivers, they're going to be taking a little bit more margin there, because they know that you've got more time to lose by going wide than by optimizing, say, for another metre or two width at that corner, given the dangers if you do put a couple of tyres wide. And you also saw the later apex for that corner. So we cut over to Guy Leach. Just getting the braking not quite right there, and he's desperately trying to get the car, trying to get the retardation into the car. As he's turning, what that's meant is he's got a little bit more weight on his front than he would have liked as he's turned in, which means he's got less grip on the rear tyres, and that's just caught him out and he's gone for a spin. Very easy to do, but it was a case of one mistake compounding there, because he got onto the brakes. You could see it got the car unstable, and then rather than just let himself go wide and sort of go with the car, he tried to fight it and still take the race in line. Then in the end, that's what's done in there. I think it was it looked like a valiant effort, and maybe it was on, but if he had gone wide, he probably would have banked, losing half second a second. Instead he decided to risk losing more, and it just hasn't paid off for him that time round, as we watch Nick Wood trying to put pressure on Fobo.
Shout out to Mr. Leach on the rejoin though, that was a very good effort. Really good shout out there, Josh. We really like to see gentlemanly conduct from all of us here at the GSRC. As this still crosses the line for victory, just 4 tenths ahead of Noble. Russell holds off Lavis in the end, only 1.5 tenths between them, and Wood and Fobo are going to be side by side as they cross the finish line, with Fobo taking 5th place by 0.05 of a second. Then nice big gaps throughout the rest of the field, and I'll wait to call it just for confirmation. There's Adam Proctor taking pole position for the feature race, with Brett Bradbury the unlucky 11th, and Heaney, Baldwin and Lipsky crossing the line at 12th, 13th and 14th for Robert Barker. A lap down and bringing up the rear after an early incident, but he'll pack himself to make up a bunch of those places in the feature race. Interesting race there. Settled down for the middle bit, but we certainly got a bit of action towards the end. It'll be interesting to see if the feature race follows the same pattern. I would imagine not with the likes of Matt Distill, Noble and Maverick starting from 8th, 9th and 10th positions. Must say, I know the purists will say reverse grids aren't pure, but they're great fun, aren't they, Josh? They are. When we see grids like this, where there's so many high class drivers, like the SOF in here was around 3k, and it was offset by a couple of drivers that were around the 1000 iRacing mark. So it's a really strong field here, and added to that, there are also quite a few guys that don't do officials. So that kind of gives you the idea of the quality that we got on show here. Yeah,
there's been a real... I'd love to know your opinion on this, but I feel like there's been an uptick in the number of high I-rating drivers that we've had in the GSRC. Just over the last couple of seasons, we seem to have attracted a few more of the sort of 4, 5s and 6,000s which is excellent to see, because it's always great to test yourself against some of the very best that we have in iRacing in Australia, and indeed for some of them the world. So it's good that we've got a really broad range of skills across the GSRC, and you'll always find someone to race with who's about your level.
Yeah, that's it. I think that the rule set that we have is really good for providing great racing up and down the field. And yeah, I think that
Yeah, and that pandemic of pure driving standards, the only mechanism we really have to combat that is word of mouth through our members standing up for what it means to be a member of the GSRC, and make sure new members know the spirit in which we want to go racing, but also importantly our volunteers that perform race control and put up with a lot of stick. A lot of people questioning their decisions, claiming bias, claiming inconsistency, which I really don't like to see. There's been a bit of that in the Discord. We have to remember all our race control members are volunteers. They're doing their very best. They're often doing it by themselves, so they don't have somebody else to bounce their thoughts off. And at the end of the day, if we don't get more volunteers, more and more we will not have race control. So I think we've pretty much always had race control, and it's a really good thing for the driving quality. But shout out. Please do get involved, do help out with the race control if you can, if you are interested in doing it at all. Do reach out and perform that position, because it's often a thankless position, but the more people we get doing it, many hands make lighter work. The more we've got race control people that can talk to each other, it improves the consistency of our stewarding, means they've got people that can back them up if they're feeling like, they need someone else to say, no, I agree. And lend their position some more weight, and it just makes everything a lot easier, and the GSRC runs smoother and improves the driving standards. But driving standards not an issue in race 1. Very, very good driving standards throughout the whole field, and hopefully the same in race 2, where Adam Proctor will lead them away from pole position with Guy Leach alongside him on the front row. Behind them is Leah and Christensen. And then on the third row is Wood and Faubourn. In 7th place is Adam Lavis. He's got Aaron Russell alongside him. And then 1 and 2 from the sprint race, Chris Noble and Matt Distill are in 9th and 10th. Unlucky 11th was, of course, Brett Bradbury from Bean Boss Racing. He's got Greg Heaney alongside him in 12th. Then it's Baldwin and Lipsky in 13th and 14th. Then on the back row is Barker and Restaurant with Joe Baldwin, the lone trucker, in 17th spot. Oh, look at Interlargos. Isn't she beautiful? I'll have to bring a tear to the eye as we watch the safety car. As you can see, they don't do a full lap behind the safety car, just so we can keep things nice and speedy. The safety car will start partway through the lap, and just enough to set the pace for all of the drivers, the pace which the leaders will maintain for, well, if it's anything like the sprint race, all of about 10 seconds, all of about a tenth of a second before the lights go green, and they go absolutely flat out up the end of the hill and into the S's.
It's actually,
because we use.
Oh, sorry. That's actually a good question that it just entered my mind. I wonder if the rolling start cars now get the preheated tyres slightly. Interesting one. I'll have to do some research on that.
That's a really interesting point you make. So, of course, we've just had the new season drop, and they are now simulating the parade lap. So, when you start a race, you will have preheated tyres, as if someone had just driven a warm-up lap and heated your tyres for you, instead of them being stone cold. I can think of a few series where that's going to be a massive benefit, and it'll certainly benefit the officials a lot, where the driving standards generally tend to be lower than at the GSRC. But you're right, it'd be really interesting to know whether it's the same behind a safety car, or whether, because they do have at least some opportunity to warm up the tyres themselves, whether they have not done that. Because it could lead to some interesting differences if you are used to, say, having a standing start in one car and you swap to a different series, and then it's all of a sudden rolling. You'll find yourself attacking way too much in that one.
It's another interesting one. leading into the Porsche Cup race tonight. There's been a big difference in the clutch as well, but we'll get to that a bit later.
Yes, we'll get to that when we get to the Porsche Cup race. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that because it is an hour-long enduro. But before that, we've got 25 minutes of LMP2's racing, and Adam Proctor gets us underway with Guy Leach on the outside. Ashley in third, Christensen in fourth. Already big movement down the pack. Russell and Distill both up 3 places. As they go 3 wide, it's 2-1. There's no way that's going to work out. Is it? Is it? They're getting... Did they get through? I can't believe they've done that. They managed to get through. Guy Leach manages to hold on to lead, but for how long? Because Adam Proctor is right there. They are side by side. There is no difference between them on the timing screens. They are absolutely neck and neck. Ashley is ready to pounce if either of them make a mistake. Then there's Nick Wood in fourth, and Aaron Russell up 3 spots into fifth, and he's looking to get up the inside, turn it into fourth. If he can hold on to that, he'll have the inside for this corner. Well, that will become the outside and the right-hander, which might not be where you want to be. Adam Proctor in the end yields to Guy Leach, who now has a half-second advantage. And Proctor coming under pressure from Lear. Will Lear dive down the inside into the downhill right-hander? No, he decided to stick with him. In fact, pretty much the whole field going one by one, except for still behind Lavis, because Lavis got himself a little bit checked up, locked the brakes, and then the other cars had to sort of try and avoid him. But everybody has done so. So everybody getting through the first 2/3 of the lap very cleanly. This is the tricky corner. Imagine someone might go for a loop around there if they're not being careful. But at the moment it is Leach, then Proctor, then Lear, then Wood, then Russell, the man on the move with Lavis in 6th. Distill also up 3 places in 7th, and Christensen, the big loser, and still dropping down the field. He's in 9th spot, and he's under pressure from Foburn. Behind him, didn't get a great run at the final corner. Foburn is in the white and blue car. Christensen is in the white and orange, and Christensen's going to find himself under attack once they get to the first corner. Might find himself under attack before the first corner of this race, such as the overspeed that Foburn has got, just trying to decide whether to go down the inside or outside. He's going to go down the inside, and you can see Christensen really holding him tight, making sure he scrubs off all the speed and has to hide a tight line if he wants to get the outside here. And Foburn has the inside, and they're still going side by side, Foburn and Christensen. They'll continue this battle down to the 4th corner, as in front of them we see Distill launching and moving. Maverick, no, he tucks him behind. Christensen's on the outside here. That is not where you want to be, and Foburn will eventually get the position and take 9th place off Christensen. Great driving from both of them, and then we see Baldwin and Barker going side by side behind them. And I think it's Barker is going to be the one making the move. No, he drops back. And Baldwin drops back, apparently. Apologies, and he's got Brett Babbery now trying to get past him. So here we go, this is Christensen. He's down 6 spots, but this is a position that is more representative of his pace. Of course, we did have the reverse grid top 10, so a little bit of that is, some of that is just Christensen just having a poor lap 1, but some of it is definitely just some faster drivers getting through. So -6 looks bad, but given it's a reverse grid race, it's not as bad as it seems from Christensen. Here is Matt Distill. He is, of course, our championship leader and the winner of race 1. He's looking to get past third in the championship. Adam Lavis going to take the outside line, so he's going to back himself to be able to hold on around the outside of turn 1, turn that into the inside for turn 2 as they go through the S's. And it looks like he's going to pull off that move absolutely perfectly, and Adam Lavis knows there's no point finding that too hard. Better to tuck him behind him and make sure he doesn't lose the position to Noble, although Noble will fancy his own chances of getting past, given that he finished 2nd in race 1. And Lavis goes towards the middle of the track to defend, and then just tucks back to the outside to take the racing line. Good heads-up driving there from Lavis, and now Noble's going to try and go around the outside there to give himself the inside into this corner. He's certainly got it. Will Lavis yield? Yeah, Lavis yields, and he's going to tuck behind, decides not to battle those two. I guarantee you he will fight harder with everybody else behind now, because he knows he's a smart racer, is Lavis, and he knows that of everybody, Distill and Noble are the two he probably can't live with on pace at this track on the evidence of the first race, but everyone else he knows is a, should we call it, a genuine position loss if he loses the position to them. So now things have settled down just a little bit. Let's run you through the entire order. As you can see on the left hand side of the screen, we've got Leach and Proctor 1 and 2. Then it is Lear and Wood 3 and 4. Russell and Distill, the big movers, in 5th and 6th, up 3 and 4 places respectively. Noble's in 7th. Lavis is in 8th. Foburn's in 9th. Christensen is now down to 10th. Barker is up 4 places into 11th. Baldwin's in 12th. Bradbury's in 13th. Healy is in 14th. And Lipsky is in 15th. As we're watching a move there. Actually, Leah trying to get himself into second place. The Proctor's on the outside. That will become the inside for turn 2. But Leah with enough momentum to just drive clean around the outside through turn 2. And Proctor must have checked up his momentum far too much in the S's, because he's now in a freeway battle. So he's got Nick Wood on one side, Aaron Russell on the other. So it's Russell on the inside, Wood on the outside. Who's going to come out ahead? Looks like it's going to be Wood on the outside. A little bit of contact there between Proctor and Russell, and Russell gets himself into 4th place. And now it looks like he's going to go for a move on Nick Wood. Oh no, there's a move on the inside. Oh, I thought they were going to touch there, but both driving very nicely, and Proctor and Russell don't quite come to contact, but Proctor does have to back out of that what was going to be a very ambitious move down the inside to avoid contact. Behind them is the ever dangerous Distill and Noble combination. Distill is in that bright blue car, Noble in the white and blue. Aaron Russell is, of course, looks to be a teammate to Chris Noble, so we look for him to try and hold Distill as much as he can when the two get behind them. Oh, this is going to be... Distill's got so much more momentum off the final corner. He's going to get past him before they even get through the kink, let alone get to the first corner. And we've seen how good Distill is through that first corner. Distill going for the early pit, as is Adam Lavis. So they've decided this is the earliest point at which they can pit and get to the end of the race. And they're going to back themselves to get into some clean air and run more competitive lap times than the cars ahead. So that when the other cars ahead come out of the pits, they end up behind them. It can be a good strategy. In experience, it's slightly harder to pull off than the going with the pack at the beginning. But it does depend on your race circumstances. But with Adam Lavis and it's still being such quick races, you know, 2 of the 3 fastest guys on the evidence sprint race, they almost certainly will be able to run faster in clean air. So I don't think that's a bad strategy from them. As I'm watching Proctor still having to defend from Noble. Yes, the threat from Distill's gone, but Noble's taken up the sword and is looking to skewer Proctor with it. But not here. He'll wait, I imagine, until they get onto the back straight and make a move into the first corner.
Interesting to see when Noble comes in, see if he goes for the, covering off the strategy, pitting him 1 lap later and hoping everyone else runs long, or will he run long and back himself to get through the pack?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It might depend on what information is being fed in the cockpit. If he's got a bit of information, he might be able to make an intelligent judgment based on the in-lap and out-lap time, or the gap between him and Distiller, whether he can perhaps get out ahead. Looks like he's heading for the pits there and got checked up a little bit. So that was Proctor and Noble both going into the pits. I think Noble thought Proctor wasn't going into the pits because he took that slightly one line. Starts took his nose at the inside, and then Proctor just cuts across and says, no, thank you. I am coming into the pits as well. I'm very, very close to contact between the two of them. Hopefully didn't distract either of them as they approach the pit entry, because if you do speed in the pit lane, it is a hefty, hefty punishment in iRacing, and one that can and has ruined races many a time in GSRC history. So let's keep an eye on where they come out compared to Distill, whose name you can see popping up the leaderboard. So Distill has come out ahead of Wood, ahead of Noble, and ahead of Proctor. Interestingly, Wood ahead of Noble and Proctor. So that is a move for positions on strategy by Nick Wood, and he's running right behind Matt Distill. So Nick Wood having a fantastic race so far. And it's effectively split the race into 2. You've got the lead group who hasn't pitted, which is Guy Leash, all the way down to Heaney. There's a bit of a gap to Lipsky, and you've got Distill down to Lavis in a fairly compressed bunch, with the biggest gap being under 2 seconds for those 5. Which is good to see. So we should be in for a cracking race over the next 17 minutes before we head on over to our second batch of entertainment for the night, which will be the Porsche Cups, racing for an hour-long endurance race at Portimão. Aaron Russell with the fastest lap of the race at the moment. He's up 5 spots, so he's definitely looking to make that go long strategy work for him, and has got very, very good pace at the moment at 1:24.2 in the last lap, same as Guy Leach and Ashley Lear out front. And Matt Distill just pointed at 1:24.1, so not a big difference in pace at the moment. It's a couple of attempts, which might be enough for Distill, but I think he's going to want to go a bit quicker than that if he wants to guarantee getting up into the top 3 places before the end of this, because yes, Leach, Lear and Russell have to pit, but they were all a few seconds ahead of Distill before Distill pitted, so he's got to make up that gap before the guys ahead pit, else he's going to have to do it on track.
Goes to show about practicing your pit entries as well. So I'm just looking at the pit lane transit times for Matt Distill versus Chris Noble here, and Matt looks like he's taken on a litre more of fuel, and his pit lane transit time is 0.6 quicker than Chris Noble. So once you take that all into account, it's about a second quicker that Matt has, equivalent to if he took the same amount of fuel. Very interesting.
Yeah, pit entry is it's an underrated part of the race, pit entry, exit, and just pit management in general, particularly once you get into the upper echelons of driver skill. If you're one of those drivers, you know, that's battling, you know, back end of the top 10 or outside the top 10, you're going to lose more than that in mistakes in the race, right? So it's not a huge thing. You probably don't attack the pit entry too much, just keep it safe, keep it clean. But once you're getting into the top 10 and you got less mistakes to capitalize on, a second is huge. A second can be huge. That can be the difference between getting out ahead of the car ahead or getting out behind, or losing a position to the car behind. And that can have a huge impact on your race when you're racing people that are going to have very, very similar lap times, lap after lap, and aren't going to give you big mistakes to try and make up that time. Unlike that one from Proctor, where he's buried it into the wall, just getting it wrong in that final corner. He's trying to take too much speed through, and it's cost him what would have been a strong top 10 finish, and he's going to have to retire from this race. Yeah, but when you are already, to continue the point, once you are towards the upper echelon of drivers, that can make a break a race. So you've got to put in more time to it. You got to optimize that time opportunity there, because it's time you're not getting back if you lose it, and it's more time for a good driver than it is for a poor driver.
Yeah, well, that's it. So just goes to credit, I'll shout out the big man, Mr. Dench here, 10 times GT3 winner for the club, but I once clocked him going 18k per hour over on this track in the Porsche Cup. He knew exactly the margin with which he could speed on pit entry and not get penalised. So they're the levels that people strive to learn to gain that little competitive edge. Credit to him.
Yeah, credit to him. He has set the gold standard in GTs and the Porsche Cup for many seasons now at the GSRC. And it's good to have personalities like him is always open to talk about his driving and his strategy calls in the booth after the race as well, which is good to see. And it gives people a very real benchmark, or denchmark as we like to call it, to measure themselves against, and know that if they are competing with him, they're amongst some of the very best sim racers in Australia, and, as I mentioned before, outside of Australia's borders.
So it looks like going long's definitely benefited a few of the guys. Regardless of Matt coming in early, he looks to be under pressure from Mr. Russell, who came in 4 laps later.
Yeah, so not having all his way as he in this race. Matt Distill, at the moment, he's tucked up behind Martin Lipsky. He'll want to get a much better run through the final corner than Lipsky does, and should be able to accomplish that. And in fact, Lipsky pulling to the inside really early there. I wonder if he's going to pit, or whether it was just he didn't carry much speed through there, so he was able to tuck the car in. Oh, looks like he's not pitting, goes to the outside, and is going to let Distill through without too much of a fight, I think, and he'll probably let Noble through as well. Apologies, Russell through. Nope, going to hold on around the outside. No, he doesn't. At least not from Distill, and Noble's Russell is able to dive underneath it as well. So Distill and Russell are able to continue their battle. And yeah, really good drive this from Russell, able to put the pressure onto Distill. And who's that coming out of pit lane ahead of Distill? That is Ashley Leah. So Ashley Leah has pit and come out ahead of Distill, which gives us a really good benchmark for where Distill is and where the rest of the pack that have already pitted is in relation to those who have not pitted. So expect them to come out behind Leach, but ahead of Barker, Baldwin, and probably Fauburn, based on this evidence. Ashley Leah gonna have to get those, get used to those new tyres, and well, no, they wouldn't change tyres. They'll just be fuel. Just gonna have to get used to the difference in fuel load, which can change the handling characteristics a little bit before Distill's able to put too much pressure on him. But at the moment, doing a fantastic job. So Distill really got his work cut out for him if he wants to get a second victory tonight, or even get onto the podium, as we think Guy Leach will likely come out ahead at this point. And that's got big impacts on the battle for third place. We did call that out before. At the moment, Adam Lavis down in 11th spot, one of those early pitters, and it's not worked for him. Could come out behind Leach and Foburn was everything shaked out and lose a heap of points to his main competitors for third place.
Just crunching some quick numbers. I still believe Guy Leach is going to come out and around about P4, P5. So he'll have to get his get a move on if he wants to put himself in that contention for the win.
Yeah, his last lap, not a fast lap, a 1:25.2, was doing a 1:24.2 earlier on. So definitely not as consistent a stint and not as consistent lap times from Leach as it is from Sada still at the moment, but he's just spending that credit that he bought by virtue of starting ahead in the first stint, and he's starting to spend it, and if he doesn't want to get overdrawn, he's going to have to make a deposit pretty quickly. So still 10 minutes to go. Go ahead, John.
Oh, no, I was just saying, while we've got a bit of downtime, we may as well touch on the implications of the championship points, see if there's any potential movement. So it looks like all things going, we're definitely going to get the drop rounds coming into play here. I know that Matt is 2 rounds done, and I believe had a rather average round. Looks like round 3 he didn't do too well, so be interesting to see how the points are looking after this one. But if Matt can clinch a relative win off Chris, that will be a spicy last round for us, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly. Well, look at that between Lavis, Foburn and Leach. 3 points between the three of them, and add Ashley Lear in there and make it only a 7-point gap. So that 4-man battle for third, and indeed, they're not far behind us still. Either. So that 5-man battle for second and third is very, very spicy, and I think it's going to be just as close at the end of this round if they finish where they are now, based on the finishing positions from the sprint race. So yeah, really, really interesting championship picture as we go into the final round, week 10 of season 3 of the GSRC for 2024. Cannot believe I'm saying that. That is absolutely flown by. And then we get to go into the final season of the year, which will be exciting. It's always an exciting time of the quarter, waiting to find out what the GSRC will be offering in the next season. Yeah,
the committee's already been hard at work there, so no spoilers, but we definitely have at least one spicy new series coming into the mix, and yeah, just hopefully we can keep it fresh and exciting for everyone whilst keeping the mainstays in place.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's finding that balance between the mainstays, those series that get a lot of participation season after season after season, and keeping it fresh to try and attract a new blood into the GSRC who can then get hooked and stay here forever. And taking advantage of things like new cars and changes to old cars or additions of rain for old cars, to try and capitalise on whatever the car of the moment is for the iRacing, because quite often we do get cars that come in vogue for a season or two and then sort of fade into obscurity, and so it's a mixture of keeping up with those and also honouring the GSRC's history and the series that keep our loyal members coming back, like the Porsche Cup, which went on a 1-season hiatus and then has come back to good numbers.
You wouldn't be having a jab at my Clio Brazilian stock cars there, would you, mate?
For me, never. Actually, I haven't driven the Clio, but the stock cars were fun.
Yeah, they unfortunately had quite a poor turnout, and I think by round 3 we were down to around 10 members wanting to rock up. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those things. It was a fun car. I enjoyed it, but yeah, it was like looking out of a letterbox that had bricks stacked in the middle of it. So, yeah, she was rather rough for battling, and yeah, quite hard to actually keep tamed. Turned out.
Yeah, I should notice a note in the middle of this. Matt Distill's got past Ashley Lear, and Guy Leach is just coming out of the pits. Then he is going to sneak ahead of Distill, and he's going to have enough momentum to hold on to the lead going into turn 4. So we've got a battle on our hands for the podium positions in this race. Guy Leach are in the victory lane at the moment, but he's got Distill breathing down his neck, and that neck extends all the way down to Leah Russell and Noble. Any one of these five could be first, third, fifth, or indeed last at the end of this race, as we watch contact there between Barker and Lavis. Can we get any chance we get another replay of that? Didn't quite see what happened, but we'll wait to the end of the replays. Martin Lipsky, is he going to go around by himself? He is. Back end's just going to over-rotate, and he's just about to get himself off the racing line immediately there. So Brett Barker completely getting it wrong, going up the inside, getting on the grass, and going to the side of Lavis. Lavis's car nice and stable, able to continue on, but Brett Barker completely upset and going off there. I don't know if there was any lead into that, and that could explain why Brett Barker was in that position, but from what we saw, it looked like Brett Barker just out of position and just getting it wrong through there, as we cut back to live pictures of Distill making the hairs on the back of Guy Leach's neck stand up. If he's not sweating in that cockpit, he's a cooler cucumber than I am, because there would be puddles on my there would be puddles forming on my race seat. As you can see, the three teammates behind them, Leah, Russell and Noble. That is not a sight I would like to see.
I was just about to mention that one. I wonder if team orders will come into play if we get to the last lap. So as we could see, there was around about a 50-point swing in the points, and I noted that one of the drop rounds that Chris Noble has up is around that mid-40 mark, 45 points, I believe. So the other one being low 20. Hopefully he doesn't need to use that one. But that 45-point round, that's a decent night out at the office. So, given a second and a fifth, could potentially come into play that he might need to ask for team orders here.
Yeah, certainly. We just saw Guy Leach just getting it a little bit wrong there, lining the rear tyres up, but able to recover it and not lose too much time. But that is going to set Matt Distill's attack instincts all over the place. You can see Guy Leach was really pushing to try and stay ahead. He knows that mistakes are going to come, that give him an opportunity, and those points could be really important by the end of next week when the championship is decided, particularly if you can put Leach between himself, Leah, Russell and Noble. And I have to say, team orders is a bit of a trigger word for me at the moment, given the whole
Andreas Stella and Zach Brown's very, very fine management. Yes,
I think it's brilliant management. Any management that means that Piastri can continue taking wins is great management in my book. Particularly when he puts on a fantastic move of the season around the outside, and then nobody talks about that and everyone just talks about it being stupid from McLaren. A little bit tricky for me.
Yeah, that was it. I don't know if many people actually saw the onboards of Lando's start. So whilst we see it from the TV perspective, if you actually jump onto the onboards, I don't know how they do it. Those F1 drivers, they have reflexes 10 times quicker than I can even fathom. But all's fair in love and war. And honestly, for Lando to cut the nose of Oscar, and then Oscar threw it down the inside. Team orders and whatnot, but it was a brilliant move, and I think it literally just caught Lando off guard. And what are you going to do if you're in that seat? You're going to take it, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And as far as I'm concerned, if you want help from your teammate, maybe don't lose 3 out of the 4 last races, or out of the last 6, or score 3 less points than them over the entire time since they've both had the upgrade. That does not team orders number 1 status deserve, in my opinion, regardless of whether you're fighting for a title. However, we'll see if Noble's team has a similar management style to McLaren, or whether they're more of the Red Bull vibe and basically leave one of their children out in a kennel in the backyard with the occasional bone thrown at them, and then give the other one steak for dinner every night. We'll have to wait and see, but more importantly, can Distill get past Guy Leach? He's running out of laps to do it. He'll have one more lap after this before we cross over the 25 minutes. That'll signal the end of the race. So Distill running out of time if he wants to complete a double here at Interlargos. And the thing is, he knows he can't do anything stupid, because if he goes for a move, it doesn't come off and he loses time, he could leave himself at the mercy of Leah, Russell and Noble, and that would be a much worse outcome than just finishing in 2nd place. So he's really going to be hoping that Guy Leach opens up a gilt-edged opportunity for him. But Guy Leach driving really, really well at the moment. He'll love it if he can get this feature win. There's oh, it's contact! Guy Leach somehow retains the lead. Actually, Leah is in second place now. Distill's in third. Noble's in fourth. Noble not able to avoid the contact. Just plows into the back of Distill and his other teammate who has dropped down the order. Aaron Russell dropped down all the way to ninth. So let's have a look what happened here. So Distill did look up the inside of Leah, but all looked good. And I think we'll have to see a different angle. I think what happens is Leah's on the outside. Oh, not Leah. Leach on the outside gets it a little bit wrong and ends up on a slightly different line to what would have been anticipated. And there's a bit of contact between him and Distill, and then that triggers a chain reaction. Let's see if we can get.
I'll try and get another angle.
See if we can get that. Whilst we do that, we'll continue to watch what we've got here whilst we try and bring you a better angle of that. Here we go. Let's have a look. So this is on Guy Leach. Oh, so they both just got it wrong individually.
Yeah, so I think Guy probably checked up a little bit, being that he was sideways, and Matt's had to brake a little bit more than he was expecting. It's calculations, I guess, and that was unfortunately the finish of the race, guys. I missed that one, so. Actually,
so Guy Leach takes the victory after making a mistake and opening the door for Distill. Distill not able to walk through it, and Leach survives by the skin of his teeth to take a fantastic victory for second place on the grid, through first, ninth from the sprint race, first in the feature race. Brilliant round for Guy Leach. Actually, Leah is able to capitalise and take second place, stealing important points away from Matt Distill, who finishes in third after driving in second place for much of that final stint, with Noble in fourth place, able to minimise the damage to his championship rival. Then Nick Wood takes fifth place, with Thoburn in sixth, Lavis in seventh, Christensen in eighth, Baldwin in ninth, and Russell, the big loser in that melee at the end, ends up all the way down in 10th place after looking odds on for a podium finish. Then we have Brett Barker in 11th, Heaney in 12th, Lipsky in 13th, Adam Proctor we saw burying it into the wall, and Brett Badbury was an early retirement. Pretty good racing there. Pretty good racing there in the end. Shame about the contact at the end. Would have liked to have seen it clean, but I don't think anyone did anything particularly wrong. Just a mistake rather than anybody doing anything silly. And we'll now wait to see which drivers will come join us in the broadcast booth for a chat whilst we wait for the start of the Porsche Cup. And these broadcasts that we bring to you. Oh, we're going to cut to a replay. What are we looking at? Start. And we're only able to bring you these broadcasts because of the volunteers at the GSRC. We've got a bunch of volunteers that do production and are able to show you, to bring you these live streams. We've got a bunch of commentators that are volunteers, race call, and we also have our sponsors who are running across the bottom of your screen now, and they are M-Wave Australia, Spreyton non-alcoholic cider, Waste Options, Flash Graphics, this is the merch website for the GSRC. If you'd like to support us more directly, go buy some stuff from there. It's all good quality. Orbic Australia. And Lobesy Racing, I believe, completes the set, and we've been joined by our first racer of the evening, and it is sprint race winner and podium sitter in the feature race, Matt Distill, and I think round victor, I'd imagine, on points, unless maybe Lee has taken it. Pretty good round there overall. Must be really happy with the sprint race victory. How did you find the feature race? Were you surprised that going along didn't gain you a few more positions and you had to fight for so many on track in the end?
A little bit surprised, yeah. But I was, I think, about 4 or 5 seconds back off the lead when I did pit. So, of course, they were still running nice, consistent laps out the front. So, you know, I think they only pitted 6 or 7 laps behind me. So, to make up 4 or 5 seconds just in clear air was going to be a bit of an ask. But it was very entertaining. The first corner on the last lap got a bit hairy, though. So I do apologise to Aaron for the kerfuffle that happened there, but anyway.
Can you talk us through that? Because what it looked like from here is that you and Guy just both went forth, both had little oversteer moments individually.
Yeah, so I sold the dummy up the inside. I was never going to be close enough to make the move, so I sort of thought, well, if I look like I am, maybe I'd push Guy to go a little bit deep. Which did happen, and then I saw him starting to oversteer left, and me being me thinking that he's coming down on me, I then hit my brakes a little bit too hard, which then put me into an oversteer moment. So yeah, a bit of a shame that happened, but anyway, I mean, it can't be helped at the end of the day.
Yeah, so a bit of a sympathy moment there.
Yes. Yeah.
As a reaction to Guy Leach, definitely very understandable. It was interesting in commentary, you know, will Guy Leach make a mistake and open the door for you? And then you did, and then you were just like, no, I don't want to walk through it. I'll just close that door for you, mate. But Guy Leach, a deserved victory in the end. Drove a really good race, I have to say. How was the pressure from behind, though? How was it knowing you had Leah Russell and your championship rival Chris Noble behind you? Did that add to the pressure?
Sorry, you're cutting out a bit there, Liam, but I'm assuming you're asking about Chris in the sprint.
Yes, the pressure from behind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got very lucky. It's not often so far this championship where I've actually qualified in front of him. He's had a very good run for the past 5 or so, polling it all the time. But yeah, I mean, Chris has been fantastic to race against all season, and you know, he's a deserving championship leader thus far. And yeah, he puts a lot of pressure on, but it's always very, very clean. So no, the utmost respect to him.
Yeah, this is that championship picture from before this round, so a fairly healthy gap there of, what is it, 56 points? 46 points, do you maths, Liam, between yourself and Noble. Given you had a pretty strong round there, you'll have gained some of that back. Do you harbor any hopes of being able to pull that in, or do you think it's going to be a bridge too far?
Well, I mean, I came into this round knowing that it's going to be a tough ask. So I sort of said to myself, well, look, let's focus on getting 0 X's in both the races, getting some bonus points there. I achieved that in the first race. The second race, I was achieving it up until the final lap there. So I definitely didn't maximise the points that I was going to gain, particularly because Chris finished directly behind me in the feature there. But you never know. Daytona's next. Anything can happen. But I mean, yeah. Again, Chris is a deserving leader so far for sure.
Yeah, it feels like you can do what's in your control. You can go out and perhaps even, you know, win the round there again. But you will be hoping for Noble to have a poor round, which is not a high odds play at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that was good fun. I hate Interlargos, so I don't know where I found the pace that I had, but no, it was good fun tonight. I enjoyed it.
Your wounds sting, because I think Interlargos is a fabulous track. Do you not like it in general? Or do you not like it because you're just not quite sure how to go fast there?
Yeah, I can't figure the track out. I cannot figure it out to save myself. It doesn't matter what car it is. And yeah, me being as competitive as I am, if I'm not quick somewhere, I just say I don't like it.
You're not alone as a racing driver saying that you don't like places where you're not quick. I think that's a common flaw between pretty much all of us. Are there any corners in particular you struggle with, or any aspect of it that you think is what's causing you your troubles, or is it just a unknown completely?
It's really that middle sector, going turn four, going through that fast double right, and then into those 3 hairpins essentially. Just trying to keep the speed up while also respecting the brake limits. I just find it really hard to keep a flow going through there every single lap. That's where I really struggle.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a track that you have to drive what you've got each lap. You can't just rely on having, okay, this is my braking point, this is my turning point, because there's too many corners, too many things that can go wrong, get you slightly offline. You've got to be really good at adjusting, I feel, around Interlargos.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, will not argue with you there.
Well, look, thank you very much for joining us in the box. Best of luck in your pursuit of the championship in the final round. And I'll keep my fingers crossed that you're able to turn it into a good battle with Chris Noble. But until then, go enjoy the rest of your night, mate.
Thanks very much, Liam. Cheers. Thank you.
All right. So, no other drivers joining us at the moment, so I might cut to a break before we bring you the Porsche Cup in a bit later in the evening. Josh, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, just a thanks to Matt for his continued support of the club. So he's the man that is responsible for asking for the fine offering that we have, the LMP2 Cup there. So yeah, no, just a thanks really.
Yeah, it's good to see drivers supporting the club. We will be back in about 15 minutes time for the Porsche Cup endurance race live from Portimão. Until then, take care of yourselves and we'll see you soon.
as yet.
Everybody that hung around for us after that short break, as promised, we're here to bring you action from the Porsche Cup live from Portimão, one of the most fantastic and underrated circuits in the world. It's spectacular for MotoGP, although it is at risk of losing its spot on the calendar if recent reports are to be believed, and played a fantastic role for Formula One in those COVID-affected years where it played host to a fantastic Grand Prix, which was run... Who won that race? Can't remember. Anyway, we're just in the final few minutes of qualifying. Samuel is currently on provisional pole position with Aiden Leithwaite behind him. These are our track conditions for tonight. 31 degrees track temperature, 23 degrees air temperature, 71% humidity, but it is clear skies and very little wind to speak of, so once again, almost perfect conditions for our racers. Expect some pretty handy lap times from them. And of course, this season in the Porsche Cup, we've been running both of our grades in the same split. So while Samuel is on the overall pole, it is Russell Gander who is in the pole position for the open split at the moment. And just like in the LMP2s beforehand, I have got Josh alongside me once again to cover the next 60 minutes.
Yeah, how are you, Liam? Looking forward to this one. Lots on the line again. Leading towards the end of the championship. I know that the team's championship's still up in the air with my teammates Joe and Davo in the hunt in the Open Cup. But yeah, there's going to be great battles up and down. Had some big changes in the car as well coming in overnight. So yeah, let's let's see how they go off the starting line.
Yeah, that is an absolutely beautiful segue to talk about some of those changes, because we're about to see the impact of them immediately. What they have done is added some randomness to the bite point for the clutch. What this means is drivers won't know precisely where the bite point is start, because it will move around the place. I think it's about an 8% variance. So we're going to see some much more natural variance in the start performance of the cars, as for some drivers the clutch point is going to be closer to the normal clutch point, and for others it's going to be further away to where they think the clutch point should be. So watch out for that. The drivers that can adapt most pay attention to any practice starts they might do are the ones that get a benefit, and we could see some unanticipated losers at the start, which could make feel a very interesting race. But thankfully, at least for tonight, they've got 60 minutes to make it up, so a longer race than normal. But it does mean there are more points on the line. And I believe behind the scenes, Josh has actually crunched some numbers and can talk us through a little bit of the strategy permutations we might see. Am I right in thinking we're expecting about 2.9 litres of fuel per lap?
Yeah, it was 2.9 from some of the top contenders. So when you say I've crunched some numbers, we all know how good I am at maths of late. I don't actually know what the full tank is. Do you know what the full tank is, Liam?
It's about 40 litres, isn't it? I could be very, very off the mark there. Do not quite that. I'm not sure what the tank setting is for this season. I'd have to double check. But we will see 2 pit stops, I believe I am right in saying. And maybe a 1 stop for some of the drivers that are more thrifty on fuel. We'll have to wait and see. We can all journey into the unknown together. Won't that be fun? Qualifying is now at an end, and I can confirm for you that Samuel looks to have taken pole position for the elites by 0.03 of a second. So by most measures, it's a dead heat between him and Leithwaite, but in racing, we do go down to the precision hundredths and indeed thousandths behind the scenes. So it is Muir ahead of Leithwaite. And in the Open Cup, it is Gander who did take pole position ahead of Baldwin. these are the championship standings going into this 9th round of the season. Matty Dench with a really healthy lead. That is not a surprise. 72 points over Samuel, and indeed the identity of the driver in second is not a surprise either for those of us that have followed the Push Cup over the last few seasons. We've got Ben Pedersen in 3rd place, Jack Rogers in 4th, and Angus Lawford in 5th. Certainly 3rd place in the championship was up for grabs between Pedersen and Rogers, and given we've got drop rounds playing into these points, we could see some bigger swings anticipated, and also smaller swings depending on how the drivers have gone so far, whether those 2 drop rounds are essentially being used by the driver or whether their drop rounds are of a similar points to all the other rounds due to their consistency. So expect to see the unexpected there as we see the standings for the Open Cup, I assume this is, with Joe Baldwin on top. And Eduardo Zamora in second. Joe Baldwin with a massive lead. I think we can just go ahead and crown Baldwin the champion at this point. But the battle for the final podium positions is very much between Zamora, Punter, and Atkins. So watch for those 3 and follow them throughout this race for a tasty storyline. And Heaney, Butler, and Watson are all quite well. Heaney and Butler are very, very close, and then Watson and Coach are very close behind them. And this is the team bragging rights standings. And I believe this effectively isn't official, but semi is. We've got Baldwin and Christensen in 3rd place for Aussie Racers 2, and then we've got Samuel and Jake Jackson for 1-9 Racing in 2nd place, and they are a mainstay of the Porsche Cup, and it's impressive to see them actually being beaten in the team's cup by someone other than Adenchi and a teammate from PGZ. So well done Aussie Racers 2, because that's a really good effort at the moment. So to confirm, these are your official qualifying results with the splits combined. So Muir and Lithwaite will start in the front row with Broad, and you know what, I'll save it for the grid to do it like that. But we've got Samuel on pole by just 34 thousandths of a second over Aidan Lithwaite, who's come on in leaps and bounds over his time at the GSRC. Then we've got Broad further 10th back with Woods 3.5 tenths back, and Slade. Next, then we've got Dane Stadden, who is previous Open Championship winner and beginning to make his name really known in the elite split, which is really good to see. Trent Allen 7th, Chuk Fung Wong in 8th. That's a strong performance from him. Mark Gomez in 9th, Campbell in 10th, Hooper in 11th, Mesimo in 12th, Connor Nixon down in 13th. You know, usually expect to see him a little bit higher than that. We've got Russell Gander in pole position for the Open class. That's a really good effort from him. Glenn Arnott second in the Open class, but they're 16th and 18th respectively, with Nick Wood sandwiched between him, and then it is Adam Lavis and Jake Jackson at the back of the elite split. And in 19th and 20th overall. Half a grid of 33 cars all up. So after them, it is Christensen, Punter, Atkins, and Crettenton. So Christensen taking 3rd position for the Open split. But we're cutting to live pictures because the race is off, and you can see straight away the variance in the starts between the cars. Look at how wide they're going. I can see them 5 wide there. That's not going to last going to the first corner. Surely they're down to 3 wide, but it's still 3 wide. And no, they ended up going 2 by 2 by 2 or 1 by 1. Samuel gets a really good launch. He manages to hold at bay Lithwaite, but Jake Slade takes a couple of early prisoners to get himself up into 3rd place. Joe Baldwin has got Gander from the start, so Baldwin is leading the Open Cup at this point. Lithwaite is in 2nd, Slade in 3rd, Broad in 4th, Standard in 5th, and we've got the timings up on the screens for you, so you can read them out yourselves now, as some cars are going side by side into the hairpin a little bit further back from Gomez and Wong, with 2 of those cars, with Gomez getting ahead of Wong. Arnott and Christensen, the big losers at the start. They're both down 8 positions, so I imagine there's been some contact there, and Connor Nixon is down 5, so there also could have been some contact there. Jake Slade now coming under a lot of pressure from Tyson Broad almost pushing him around that left-hander, and then he pulls out to the inside for what is Portimão corner, I believe. Really, really tricky double apexed right-hander that is blind on the second apex is blind on entry. You sort of have to pick it and get the car turned in, and as you crest the hill, the back end of the car can get a little bit unsteady. So it really is a corner that you have to learn. Driving it by instinct is very, very, very difficult if you are so inclined. And see, that looks like one of the 1-9 cars potentially going off there. It's only a purple car, and perhaps having a slowdown. I'll have to get a replay and see what happens. This is a stop for David Christensen. He's on the outside of the Bailey Ladders entry. So it's just a case of 3 cars. Car on the inside probably doesn't realise the third car is there. Starts to put the squeeze on the car outside him, expecting the car in the middle to move left. Car in the middle's got nowhere to go, and they all collide. Classic first race incident when you have such a packed grid. And that's Jonathan Ackers getting a little punt of the back from the purple car, and yeah, doing a really good thing there. See, this is exactly the kind of behaviour we like to see from a racer. Caused an incident, realised he caused the incident, instead of just backing himself thinking, no, I did nothing wrong, admitted that he did something wrong, and pulled over and redressed the position, even though it cost him about 6 places. And there's another car going off there. That is Barry Punter. That's gone off, I believe, in the green car, because he's just tumbled down the order. Don't know if there was contact there. We'll get another look at that. So this is Punter. No, just loses it by himself.
Tricky corner, that one. Big cresting left-hander. Caught off guard a bit.
It is very, very easy to do that. Very, very easy to do that in these cars. They are quite tail happy. It's very easy to get under power a little bit too quick, and then you are in some serious, serious trouble. And likely Brisbane.
Looks like the front two have broken away a little bit. That kind of magic 1 second mark where they're going to start to lose the toe. Now that they're battling, Tyson maybe a claw a little bit back, but yeah, the front pair trying to break away here.
Yeah, they certainly are. They've got about a second to Tyson, so they haven't managed it quite yet. But a few more laps like that, and they certainly will pull away, because they were a fair bit quicker than Tyson Boyd in that lap. Although Tyson Boyd, as we saw, did have some battling to do, so it's a bit misleading. Look at the pace so early on in the race. But this is Lufway looking like he might go for a move down the inside of Samuel. Will he? No, decides he's not quite close enough, and perhaps not as confident as Samuel on the brakes into corner 1. So we'll sit behind him for now as we cut back to Adam Lavis. He's trying to defend from Trent Allen. Allen's not going to be able to go around the outside there, has to tuck in behind. For those of you not familiar with the track, the opening few corners, it's similar-ish layout to... You could argue it's similar-ish layout to Spa. We got that really fast first corner. That's effectively a double apex with corner 2. But here you then go into turn 3, which is a tight right-hander. So it almost continues on for longer, that sort of complex here. As we watch Adam Lavis go deep, that's going to open the door for Trent Allen. Trent Allen not quite close enough to walk through it. Has it slammed in his face. Hopefully he doesn't get his fingers stuck. And he's going to have to sit behind Lavis, and Lavis gets away with a small mistake there. What that has done is increased the gap from himself to Nick Wood. It is now at 4.2 seconds. So if these drivers want to do anything more than finish behind the top 10, they're going to have to get a move on and start closing that gap, because it already at this stage of the race, it's going to take quite a few laps of a significant pace advantage to claw that back. At the front of the field, Ada Lufway posted the fastest lap last time round, was almost 3 times quicker than Samuel. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues, and whether he's able to effect an overtake on the car in the lead, as we watch Philip Butler in the Fallout themed car. Just getting it wrong in the same corner we saw. Lavis making a mistake. Really, really tricky corner that, as evidenced. And yeah, so watch for cars to make mistakes there, particularly as we get later in the race and perhaps they're driving with a bit more tyre wear. I also wouldn't be surprised if the cars we're seeing struggling with the rears are cars that are driving a little bit more aggressively and perhaps putting a little bit more temperature through those rears. And this is Aiden Schultz looking like he's just pulling off. Has he got damage there?
Yeah, he's towing massively on that left front there, so looks like he's given up the ghost.
Yeah, probably the correct move there from him, unfortunately. So that'll be Aiden Schultz out of the race.
So a bit extra information as well with that update. There's been some big changes in the way that the brakes are working. So lots of these guys, depending on if they're doing a 9 to 5, they're likely not had any more practice than what they got in the opening session. And if they've run their LMP2s, we all know it's a very different car. So yeah, going to be lots of guys on Struggle Street out there getting used to essentially a new platform, because these cars are all about the brakes. And yeah, if they've changed that up significantly, yeah, I can imagine how harder to be out there for everyone.
Yeah, in these cars, not that I was particularly quick in them, but I remember driving them. The key to getting a lap time is to get the trail braking right, because it really helps the rotation. Otherwise, they can feel a little bit lazy at turn-in, which is a killer of lap time. But get it wrong, obviously, you go round, so that's why you get such big gaps between the real fast guys in this car and some of the slower guys. So yeah, if they've changed the braking, that is really going to make that more difficult. From what I've read, they have made it a little bit easier to keep the cars on something approaching the braking limit. But if you're not used to those changes, it's probably not help until you've actually got used to it over a sort of a 20-30 minute session of driving, which, as you pointed out, the people that have driven in the LMP2s earlier in the night will not have got that time if they didn't do it before the LMP2s. And it is something we see quite often. The drivers that do to the both series on a night, they do tend to struggle a little bit more in the second series because they just don't get that practice time. Which can be good for us because sometimes it leads to them qualifying out of position a little bit and then finding their pace through the race, which is always a little bit interesting. As we're watching Joe took Baldwin, he's got Greg Heaney alongside him, so Baldwin is the black car, Heaney is in the blue car, and Baldwin getting the move done into the hairpin. You can see the speed he carried through there, so much confidence, but it looked like he did compromise his exit a little bit, and Heaney might be able to come back at him. But he's going to run out straight before he's able to do so. So move complete there for Baldwin in the black Bailey Ladders entry.
I'm sure he knows he only needs a classification tonight with the number drop-offs that we've seen in the opens. But yeah, you can't take the racer out of trucker. He wants to stick it alongside anyone at any time he can. So, yep, there we go. Classic trucker there. Yeah,
look, I'm sure. Joe definitely wants to get the championship, and indeed, I wouldn't hesitate to say that he's already got it. But Joe will drive absolutely anything. He just loves racing. I guarantee you, if you said, "Hey, you could go win every race and it'd be boring, like just pulling away from the lead, or you could go have some real ding-dong battles, but not win the championship," he would take the second. He's that kind of racer. Loves the wheel-to-wheel. As we cut to some real racing between Jake Slade and Mark Gomez. This is for 5th position overall and 5th in the elite spot. So he's effectively effectively second in the second group of cars. So you can think of Luthwaite, Broad and Samuel. The three of them, there's only 1.5 seconds between the three of them, and they've broken away from Dane Stadden, a 3.2 second gap there. And then Stadden's got 1.5 to Jake Slade, and then there's a whole gaggle of cars behind him: Gomez, Woods, Mezamo, and Fung Wong. So Stadden down to Fung Wong is the second battle pack, so that's from 4th to 9th. And then you've got Campbell sort of by himself in 10th spot.
He must be steering with his feet here. Jake Slade he's been in a bit of a tug of war from what I can imagine. Both Revolution E-Racing and Whiskey Business Racing wanting his services when he put him up for offer at the start of the week. So good on him. He's showing his new colours proud, putting it there in 5th on opening night in the livery.
Yeah, doing an astounding job at the moment. And it's a nice livery, that with the blue, white and red, always a good colour combination. So good to see Revolution E-Racing increasing their numbers. So Greg Brooks making a comment that Aiden and Sam seem to be adjusting to the changes better than most. I think Samuel in 3rd and Aiden in the lead. I think that's a fairly safe assumption to make. I'll be interested to see if others are able to catch up throughout the races. Perhaps they catch up on those changes. It is interesting to see just how many clubs we do have active at the GSRC. We've had some that have been active for multiple seasons, and a few new clubs, which is really good to see. And often when we do get the clubs, they do bring strong support with 3, 4, 5 drivers all racing in the same series, which is absolutely lovely to see. It's a great aspect of sim racing, and of course with these clubs they do often go and do enduros together as well. It's a really good way to make some new friends and really challenge your sim racing and improve it with help from your team members. So for those that are more serious in particular about their sim racing, definitely do reach out if you are thinking about getting a club, and reach out for the GSRC's channels, because I'm sure as we've seen with Jake Slade, teams will be willing to take you on. And I'd say even if you're a slower racer, you'll find a team that suits you. There's definitely teams that are more focused on the social side than trying to be super competitive. And there are some drivers that do like to get into the Discord just with randoms while they're racing. So we do have channels in the GSRC's Discord that you can hop into even if you're in a race and have a bit of a chat if you so desire. So do go do that if you do want to increase the social side of sim racing. There's some great blokes out there. I've met some, for me, I've met great blokes mainly through commentary and interacting with the broadcast guys, you know, likes of Zach, Sam, Adam, and of course yourself, Josh. Like all great guys. So do reach out and get more involved if you are enjoying your sim racing and want to add an extra aspect to it. I reckon we will have our own silly season at the end of the season. That'd be excellent. Can we get someone to do a chart? You know, like how in F1 when the drivers are all moving, they do the charts like this guy's gone here, this guy's gone here, and it's on like a big wheel. Can we get that, but for all of the sim racing teams in the GSRC? That'll have to be a mighty big wheel, I think. Let's have a look what's happened to Nick Wood here for Twitchy Foot Racing. Again, they're one of those stalwarts of the club in terms of clubs, and just getting it wrong, going a little deeper. And you can see it looks like what he's trying to do there is then try and scrub off more speed, increase the brakes, and the tyres have just decided, no, enough's enough, I can't turn and brake that much, and he's gone for a little bit of a spin.
Back this one as well, Zach. So, sorry, Liam. My gosh, getting tired. It's one of those tracks where you have to cut a lot of curb, and as we know, these things are rather stiff and don't like taking curbs. So, yeah, as we mentioned, there's a few variables being thrown at everyone tonight, and yeah, add having to take all of that track to gain as much time as possible, and yeah, it's catching a lot of guys off guard, isn't it?
It is catching a lot of guys off guard. It's a very similar track to Interlargos, where we were for round one. There's a lot of different radius corners, a lot of corners that flow into other corners, and there's a lot of elevation change you have to deal with. And just having so many different cambers and so many different corner profiles makes it very hard to deal with. It just does. So I'm not surprised we're seeing some drivers getting it wrong. I'd actually say this is probably one of the hardest tracks to go to given they have changed the brakes. This is not a track you do not want to be confident in your brakes at, because it's so different each corner. If you went to say, not that it's on the service, but you went to like say a Baku or maybe a Monza, where you've got a few very distinct braking phases, but it's mostly straight line braking, turn in, and you won't lose that much time compared to if you're trail braking heavily. Yeah, this is not a track you can get away with that. So, very punishing for anyone not confident on the brakes. Apologies. So the race has definitely settled down. We're not seeing too many on-track battles at the moment or passes, and the reason for that is because we are in this hour-long race. Once we see them get through the first stint, and particularly once the stops have finished, expect this race to blast into life in the final stint. That is generally what has happened in the Porsche Cup in seasons gone past.
Yeah, so it looks like we've had our first round of pit cycles here with Trent Allen coming in lap 7. I can't remember. I don't think there was a reason for that. So yeah, dare I say that he's probably trying to find himself a bit of clear air, and yes, just punch in some consistent laps and try and make some time back.
Yeah, and that can work if you can find that clear air, but in such a long race, you're definitely risking it. I mean, it looks like to be in a good spot at the moment. He's got 11.5 seconds to Tristan Koch, who's the first car that he would catch. So he does have a bit of a wiggle room there to play with. But, you know, if those drivers decide they're going to go long, he's got a fair few cars to fight past. So it's a bold move from Trent Allen, and it'll be a long time until we see whether or not it pays off. At the front, Aiden Luthwaite's just got away from Tyson Broad and Sam Muir a bit, so that gap is now at 1.5 seconds to Tyson Broad and then a further 2 seconds to Sam Muir. So certainly settled down at the front. Everyone's playing very kindly. It'll be interesting to see if those gaps are being influenced at all by differences in tyre management or in particular fuel management. If one of those drivers is saving more than the others, those gaps could be fake. So we'll have to wait and see there. As I'm watching Adam Lavis, who, if a one-stopper is on, Adam Lavis will do it, so he can be a bit of a canary in the coal mine. If we see him going long and getting to your sort of 28 minutes into the race, then the one-stopper is almost certainly on. So yeah, watch for him to pit. If he pits, the two-stopper is probably the way to go, because he generally does get the strategy right in these cars, or just about anything he's racing.
Just
going
to jump back, see if we can have a look what happened to Sam Muir, because he was out in the lead. This is not picked up by the telemetry here, but he lost 2 spots in the course of about 15 seconds here. So interesting. Yeah, looks like he just got caught with his pants down.
Or dare I propose that it might have been deliberate, so he can sit in some air, sit behind, get a bit of tow, save a bit of fuel. We do see drivers do that on occasion, but it'd be a bold choice to give up track position. No, we've still got Trent Allen. He's down in 22nd at the moment, but he has pitted. Nobody else has pitted, except for those that have had pit stop, except for those that have had incidents.
Well, we may as well jump on board with Aiden Luthwaite here. He chucked in a PB last lap. You can see him just going around a blue flag there, but last lap, fastest lap of the race was a 1:46.97. So listen to him take us around a lap of Portimão.
Yeah, and keep an ear open to those engine notes. What we're looking to see is whether or not there is a lift before his braking. So what that'll sound like is you'll hear the engine notes level out. It'll be quite distinct when you hear that, but you'll see that he's not braking, and that will mean that he is just coasting into the corner. And the more you coast into the corner, the more fuel you save, but you're giving up time to do so. But it's generally not as much time as you think it will be. So for a lot of drivers, when they're good at it, they can fuel save and lose only 1, 2, 3 tenths a lap. Not much, but gain that time back in the pit lane when they do pit, or indeed do a one-stopper when others are doing two-stopper. No fuel save. So there was no fuel save into corner 1. So don't be surprised if Luthwaite does pit a little bit earlier. Oh! So on board for a moment there, just carried too much speed, or perhaps a little bit too much trail braking into the tight right-hander. His rear end gave way, and you can see him whacking on a heap of opposite lock to catch the slide. Walks the car to the outside, but keeps it pointing relatively in a straight line, but will have lost a heap of time there.
And critically into, I believe it's 4 and 5 there, the 2 trickiest corners of the track, if I may say so myself. It's where we've seen the majority of accidents. And yeah, straight back on it. You can see he's in that coveted neutral steer on exit of every corner, opening up the wheel, and you know, yeah, just brilliant catch. And he only probably lost maybe a second there. So yeah, phenomenal skill on show here.
And this is one of the things with the really good drivers, and what separates some of the can we pause for a minute? Sorry Chris, we can't pause a live race, but you can take us with you. We can't hear what you're doing, so you know that's up to you. I'm not saying I condone it, but do what you will. Anyway, one of the things that separates the really good drivers from the sort of mediocre drivers, it's not just outright pace. Often you can have drivers that have good outright pace, but they're not as quick through a race. And the reason is those little errors that we just saw Luftweight make, they don't know how to stop them becoming bigger errors. So they have a slide, they don't quite know how to catch it, and then they loop around, or they have to scrub off all their speed, try and stop it. You know, they turn in a little bit earlier, and they don't know how to then adjust to avoid clanking the inside curb and going around. They can't do it quick enough. They don't have the built-in reflexes to know how to handle the car when it starts doing something that's a little bit unexpected. The very best drivers, those mistakes, they keep them into little mistakes, and then what they do is they don't fire the second arrow, which means when they make a mistake, they don't then have the logical fallacy of, oh, I've got to make up that time. They immediately let it go, and then just go back to driving how they were. A lot of mediocre drivers, a lot of drivers that aren't quite as proficient at race management, they lose some time, and then that puts pressure on them, and they feel like they have to try and make it up, try and find time, and then they make more and more mistakes. They fire the second arrow and cause themselves more damage.
Yeah, some notable omissions from the grid tonight, as we can see. Mr. Peterson missing, Matty Dench obviously, so yeah, just big update. Unfortunately, he's going to catch quite a few people off guard.
Yeah, gigabytes upon gigabytes of updates for these drivers. That's Ben Benson putting out a request, a offer to be someone's spotter if they want a spotter, and anybody is listening. Although I would hazard that if anybody is listening to the chat, they probably are spotting for somebody. But it's a nice offer there from Ben Pennison, one of the leaders in the championship, but not able to compete tonight thanks to the upgrade. And of course, we also have no Matty Dench. Whether or not that's due to the upgrade, we do not know. But hopefully both of them have got a drop round to play with, so they won't affect the championship scores by any more than it needs to. And these are the championship standings as they stand. So Matty Dench taking the night off. He's currently got a really healthy 72-point lead over Sam Muir, who in turn has 53 points over Ben Pennison. So Ben Pennison after tonight might find himself under a bit of pressure from Jack Rogers if he is in the field, but it looks like Jack Rogers also isn't in the field, or if he is, he's had a very, very bad race. So looks like he'll get away with it. But yeah, the top four not competing in the race tonight, and it might even be the top five because I don't see Norford either.
Yeah, no, the whole top five's missing. Is that six? I can't. Is Dane in here?
Yeah, Dane's in there.
Dane's in P3, yeah. Yeah, but it looks like only Matt and Angus have drop rounds up their sleeve. So round one, it looked like Denchi had a rather average round, and that's his lowest scoring round on 38. So still not a horrible night out at the office, but yeah, he's got a commanding lead there, and dare I say, untoppable. I think he doesn't even have to rock up at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And then calling out Broxy also missing because he doesn't want to drive something else before he drives to Super Freeze on Monday night. And it's interesting you have some drivers that doesn't bother them hopping into completely different cars week on week, round on round. A little bit of contact there between Slade and Mesmo. So Mesmo just going deep into the corner and just touching Slade by the looks of it.
Yep, Simon, one of our new drivers, has just come on in the last few weeks, so shout out to the new guys.
Yeah, best of luck with that, Brooksy. It's always good to see people fighting for the upper reaches of the championships, and this is why we do when we do have lots of drivers, we do split them into different splits, just to try and give people an opportunity to get that winning feeling a little bit more. When we have really large numbers, we will split them and run them as in different servers. When the numbers are a little less and the type of cars and circuits allow for it, we'll run them in the same server so we can get the benefits of having lots of cars for our races and for our broadcasts, and be able to bring you all the drivers in our broadcasts, but still have the benefit of drivers feeling like they can go for championships when they otherwise would not be able to. Which is one of the positives of driving in the GSRC is because we don't market ourselves just as the elite drivers, we market ourselves to the everyday sim racer. We do try to offer those opportunities for drivers, and we've also got some categories that are more suited to more entry-level drivers, should we call them early career drivers, where the cars are slower and we generally just get a slightly lower strength of field, which is always good to see.
So just tracking that forward there for the recent comment. Looks like Tyson's entered the pit lane after that and hasn't chosen to come back out by the look of it, so calling it a night. And yeah, I think we're going to have a fantastic round next week. I'm not. I'll have to check the calendar, but I'm assuming Saki's put us at Mount Panorama in 65-degree track conditions, so it should be a fantastic night out at the office for everyone.
Oh, Mount Panorama. Is there any circuit you'd rather not be at if you're in a championship fight on the final round? Jesus, such a punishing circuit. I do not envy those guys. So this is where we're different, Starkey, because the maps doesn't stress me out. It's the racing that stresses me out. The maps is the easy bit.
And Chris would know as well, being very much in the commanding position of taking out the Super 3 Championship. He's done everything in his power to put in as many hours on track at every opportune moment during the week. So, yeah, props to him. He's put his focus totally into that series, and yeah, he's going to come out with the chocolates at the end of the season because of it, dare I say.
Yeah, you might be right there. Interesting to note, look at the timer. 28 minutes. We are definitely getting into one-stop territory. Indeed, I would say we're already in one-stop territory for anyone who pits now, but there's been a distinct split in strategy. I can't believe the drivers that pitted around lap 11 are going to get to the end. I could be wrong. Like I said, we're not entirely confident on the size of the fuel tanks for this event and how that correlates 2 times, but we might see some 2-stoppers versus 1-stoppers. And the reason I say that is what gives me a little bit of confidence in that is a lot of the open split guys pitted quite early, whereas almost all of the elite drivers, other than Trent Allen, look like they are trying to make a one-stop work. So it's just interesting how that's occurred. That makes me think it might be strategy and fuel levels rather than almost everyone in the open split pitting early just because they decided they wanted to pit early and then run do the overcut. Over there, Crittenden and Glenn are not, who look to be playing a blinder, if my theory is correct. And yeah, I definitely agree with that statement. Aiden having an absolute blinder. He's pulled 5 seconds on Sam Muir, which is a new name in second because it was... Who was it before? Gomez? Tyson was. Yeah, as you mentioned, Tyson dropped off, which is a shame because he was obviously running very, very strongly. Yeah, trying to put for the fast repair when he got shunted. Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable hypothesis there from Trenton Naylor. So yeah, Liv waiting first. He's got 5 seconds on Muir, who in turn has got 8 seconds on Dane Snadden. So that top 3 really separated. Dane Snadden has only got half a second on Gomez. So he is leading the battle pack from 3rd to 9th. So pretty much anyone in the top 10 could finish on the podium here tonight, because I don't think any of the drivers that have pitted will be in contention. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Of everybody in the field, biggest mover at the moment, upwards at least, seems to be Adam Lavis, who's up 8, but an honourable mention to Simon Mesamo, who's up 7, and that's put him into the top 5 in this race. He's having a fantastic race. And in the open split, big movers are Greg Heaney and Tristan Koch, who are up 5 and 6 spots respectively, even though Koch is a lap down on the leaders of the Elite Series.
Just going to try and have a look what happened to Trent Allen here. He got passed 3 times on this lap and 4 times on the previous lap, so he hasn't... Has he got any damage there on the rear? I can't see. Let's have a look at his actual crash.
Oh, that'll
do it.
Yeah. That goes without saying. Nothing Trent Allen's done it wrong there. Looked like, believe me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was Joe Baldwin just getting it wrong on the brakes, locking the brakes, and yeah, at that point he was pretty much a passenger, and Trent Allen was the lucky car on his path. When Baldwin decided he was going to do his best Bottas impression from, and that's a reference, of course, to Hungary in 2021. When he skittled out both of the Red Bulls in the middle of a very intense title fight. So we're now past the halfway distance, so guaranteeing that a bunch of these drivers are going to be on one stopper. What we want to look at now is how deep do these cars go, because that'll indicate whether those early stoppers are still going to be one stopping or whether they're going to be two stopping. If everyone pits in this lap or the next lap, it means those early stoppers probably aren't going to get to the end. If they get to about 40 minutes in, that would indicate that others are going to be able to, that pitted early, are likely to be able to make the one stop work. But at the moment, one thing is clear, and we don't need strategy to know about it, and that is that Lufway is absolutely in the box seat for this race. Nobody else can match his pace. He's the only man to have dipped into the 1 minute 46s. And he's doing a great job out. Yeah, El Presidente taking your boy out. Yeah, it happens. It happens. But I'm sure El Presidente will feel suitably bad about that. And of course, we've got El Vice Presidente putting on the broadcast for us. Thanks again for jumping in at relatively late notice to host this broadcast for us, Josh, and for everything else you do for the club as Vice President.
It is my pleasure. Jumping in last minute and fighting production buttons as well as this new keyboard, it seems. Tell you what, it doesn't matter how nice of a keyboard you get. If it doesn't want to work, it doesn't want to work. So sorry for the hotkeying. Been open mic up at night to Liam's. Unfortunate.
I think that's Dane Stallion. Dane Stallion's gone off from third place. He's down into 7th on the timing screens, and yeah, he's lost a whole heap of time, so I'm pretty sure that's who we saw going off in the background. Let's have a look at what's happened here. So Dane Stallion turns it into the right hand, the rear's already let go. He tries to capture it, can't capture it. So that's just a case of most likely just too much entry speed. If not just outright too much entry speed for the amount of trail braking he was doing. And just getting wrong, but good to see him continue. And this is Greg Heaney trying to get back on track.
Greg's had a bit of a series of events here, not too sure what's going on. So this is one lap earlier than what we were just seeing. Is that fuel?
But it could be. That's not a bad shout.
I'm trying to work out. It doesn't look like he's getting damage.
That's a hideous miscalculation if it is. Pun intended. Alright, so what this has done is put Mark Gomez into the podium position, so he's running in third. Chuck Fong Wong and John Hooper now in the pits. We are seeing more of those elite drivers start to pit, but Sim definitely deciding they're going to run their fuel all the way out before they pit. And of course, the longer you go, the less fuel you need to go to make it to the end. You save time in your pit stop. So that'll be the logic behind there, even if they're doing extra saving to be able to hit those numbers. Of course, we don't know whether that is the case. We'll have to wait to talk to the drivers afterwards. But watching now is Simon Mizomo, who's now up 8 places and is in with a good shot of getting a podium from 12th on the grid if he can find a way past Gomez.
Interesting to see, like all of the open boys and, you know, 2 of the pros that are in contention have come in, have not known that it's a one-stop strategy here. So, yeah, really interesting. I know that my team in particular will.
No, I think we've lost you there, Josh. We lost your voice completely. Open split leaders falling away. Joe must be smelling a podium right now. So Joe's a second behind Devin Christensen in 4th place in the open split. Gander and Arnold are the leaders. Their pace is faster than Baldwin at the moment, and they are yet to pit though. So it all depends whether, I think it depends whether Baldwin is able to get to the end. If he's able to get to the end after pitting on lap 11, which would have been around the 20-minute mark, which currently, given it's 36 minutes in and we've got a bunch of people out there, it's indicating that he probably can get to the end. Then yeah, he's looking in not a bad spot. You got those that have pitted and might struggle to get to the end. You're looking at those that pitted before that 10, Trent Allen, David Christensen, the big names that might struggle to get to the end. We'll have to wait and see. We're currently watching Mesamo. He seems to, he's still only 3/4 of a second behind Gomez. He is. It's showing that Gomez is being held to account. And he's got 1.5 seconds to Jake Slade, and then Dane Snadden is now in 6th place, a further 4 seconds back, so that's where he settled down after his little spin. It'll be interesting to see if Snadden can summon up some pace to get back with these boys, but his tyres are probably not in fantastic shape at this point, or almost certainly overheated. So it'll be a struggle for him to find the half a second he would need to be running at a pace that would allow him to catch the likes of Mazzomo and Gomez. Yeah, it certainly will be interesting. This is one of the joys of going in without having the details, is that we don't know. So here's the unknowns open for us as well as for anybody that is watching. And for those of you that are watching, thank you very much for joining us on this Thursday night broadcast. It's a pleasure to be able to bring it to you, and we're only able to do so because of the kind support of our club sponsors. Just reading my mind there. Lobesy Racing, the first of those with M-Wave, also a proud supporter. We then have Spreyton non-alcoholic cider. Waste options. Flash graphics. And that is the address for our merchandise shop. If you want to fancy a jumper, a bottle opener, there's all sorts of things on there. And then we have Orbic Australia as a proud sponsor as well. You absolutely should get onto this track because it is absolutely fantastic. It really is a roller coaster. It is just up and down all over the place. It will challenge your handling, how well you're able to handle your vehicle, like few of the tracks on the service. Absolutely spectacular. And if you haven't, watch the MotoGP here because it is just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And that's Trip from Wong. Catches it. That's some fantastic driving from Chuck there. So you could hear it early. You could hear the rear tyres had completely lost grip. You could hear him sliding it. Manages to catch it. Tries to turn it in again. Goes again. Has to catch it again. And somehow does all that without going into the gravel. So really good recovery from Chuck, demonstrating what I was saying earlier. That capability to take mistakes and not turn them into bigger mistakes. Minimise the time loss. Whilst we were going for our sponsors, you may have seen a silver car going out wide, and that was Simon Mesamo. So he has lost a second to Mark Gomez in that, so Mark Gomez now a much more secure third place. Yeah, so these are some of the merch that we've been talking about at the merchandise store. I've got the jumper. I love it. It's my cold weather jumper. It's very, very warm and soft, and it's kind of great. If everything else is the same quality, then I'm sure the t-shirts are great. As you can see, they're relatively stylish. But we've also got bottle openers, stubby holders, and if there's anything that we don't have that you would like, you can always inquire and see if we get it. And we do also have some team-specific merch in there. So if you are one of the new teams to the club and you would like a way to get some of your own merch out there, that can be hosted through our shops, and just get in contact.
Yeah, Chris Stark's the man for that as well. So yeah, shout out to Starky, who runs our shop for us. So get in touch with him through Discord, and I'm sure I'll be able to get it going.
Yeah, the shop fairly popular if I was reading the financial statement from the club correctly. And of course, I think all of the members will have had that financial statement available to them in their inboxes if they're inclined to see how the club is performing. And yeah, if I read it right, there's a little handy little income from there, which is good to see. And it looks like the club getting onto a surer financial footing.
Yeah, that's it. So we're very fortunate to be in a position where our membership actually covers most of the racing and manages to pay for broadcasts and also race control. So being a not-for-profit, we like to give back as much as we can. Obviously the books have to zero at the end of the season, but yeah, no, it's great to have people supporting the racing so much. And you know, the biggest way of supporting the racing is by showing up from week to week and doing in the YouTube, commenting like his own. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. The broadcasts are how we can offer more value to our sponsors by getting them out there on the broadcasts, and obviously the more views we have on those YouTube videos, then the more views our sponsors get and the better value they get for supporting the club. So it's all a big circle. We can put on more broadcasts, the more members we have, the more volunteers we have, which then means we can provide more value to our sponsors, which then means we can, you know, potentially get more sponsorship money, and it goes round in circles because that money then gets invested back into the club, because as you mentioned, it is a non-for-profit club, which means it basically must go back into the club, which is great to see.
These guys have had a tow rope hooked between them the whole race so far, so may as well jump on board with the Twitchy Foot boys, Ben Woods and Rain Campbell.
Yeah, driving a half decent race, particularly Campbell. He's up one spot on the start position. Ben Woods down 4. But he has pitted, so he will make a bunch of those positions back. So look for these guys. Both these guys have pitted, so look for them to jump up the leaderboard. With the likes of Lavis, Snadden, Slade, Mesmo all start to pit. Don't know quite how they'll relate to them. Certainly they will get Lavis. Whether they'll get anyone higher up, that is up for debate. And yeah, Joe Baldwin saying there's 3rd place for Joe. Joe currently in 4th in the open split, but only half a second behind Russell Gander, who has just made his stop. So Gander was ahead of Arnott, I believe, so I believe when Arnott stops, then Baldwin will come out ahead of him.
Yep, so that magic number, just with us coming in blind again, we're down to about lap 7, so by my math, relatively everyone that hasn't come in early to take that fast repair is going to get home. Yeah,
be about lap 7, lap 8, depending on whether they pit this lap or not. So I think even Trent's going to be able to get there. So I imagine, which would tie with him being willing to go in and get the fast repair, because unless there was a lot of damage, you would wait until the first opportunity and then go in and pit if it's the kind of thing that's costing you time but is not but is drivable. You would generally wait until you can get to the end, or it's not going to wreck your strategy. Yeah, definitely. We saw him pushing out 5 laps, so we probably could have read into that and taken lap 7 away from that as where he judged he could get home. So good shout. Yeah, I assume it's a fantastic feeling winning a championship. I'm gonna have to just assume it is amazing. But yeah, I think particularly as president of the club, it would be lovely to see Joe take a championship, because he's put a lot into the club, has done for a long time. So lovely to see him enjoying some success on the track. As we swap over to Gomez, so this is the battle between Gomez and Mesmo. So Mesmo, we saw him have a bit of a wide moment, lose that second. He's getting it back and is now back within half a second of Mont Gomez. And neither of these guys have pitted. Surely, okay. I know we're talking 1 or 2 stops, right? But that's because of a relative lack of information beginning and sort of going off memory from a couple of seasons ago when I was commentating the Porsche Cup. Surely a no stop's not on, right?
I mean,
because we're quite far into the race. Like, I'm just gonna throw that out there. We've got what, 7, 8 laps remaining, depending on the pace. It's not far.
Given it's a windy track. Like, I mean, there probably is only, what, 50-60% throttle time? It's not like a Bathurst or something where you're at 80%. So yeah, I don't know. Well, I'll try and do some investigation and see what kind of tank we get. But there you go, 65%. So I'm going to throw it out there and say it's not possible to do a one stop, and I think everyone will be coming in.
Yeah, I think you must be right. Also, if it was that, we would see more of a difference in pace, I imagine. I can't imagine Lufwait's been able to be the fastest guy and also fuel save. And
There you go.
He is into the pits. Usually if there is a no stop or something silly like that on, we can see on with the onboards massive lifting, but we didn't see that when we were on the board with Lufwait earlier on in the race. Samuel follows him in, so maybe we're just getting to the natural end of the fuel, and most people have pitted before they reach the end of their tank. Simon Mesimo and Mark Gomez continue on and continue the battle as they do so. Quarter of a second between the two of them. Pretty sure Mesimo is going to be able to draw the back of that Porsche Cup ahead of him by memory by the end of this. Of course, all the Porsche cars' backs are the same, but he'll be able to do it with colours and signage and everything. Probably be able to draw the specks of dirt there on the back of the car and explain how they change over the course of the race, such as the detailed attention he's been paying to the back of Gomez. Interesting, Lufwait pits and then comes out in third place. Such is his pace in this race. He's barely lost any positions. Of course, a lot of drivers had already pitted as well. But yeah, he's come out in third, Muir in fourth, Ryan Campbell currently in fifth spot. Ben Woods hops up into sixth place after some of those ahead pit, and we've got Glenn Arnott now pitting in the open class, so we'll be able to see what the true running order is in the open split, and I'll bring it up to you in a few seconds time. And Lavis pits as well. He's going to come out towards the back of the elites, at least the elites that are sort of in that pack that was ahead of the open split. Yeah, as we watch Jake Slade on your screen doing battle with Ben Woods, who is behind his teammate Campbell. So I believe that's been a change of position between the two Teacherfoot racing entries at some point off camera. And Glenn Arnott just pulling out of the pits now. It's going to be very close between him and Christensen and Baldwin. He's come out behind Baldwin, behind Gander. So it's Christensen, then Baldwin, then Gander, then Arnott, and the four of them, the four leaders in the open split, after their pit stops have completed, are only split by less than 4 seconds. There's less than a second on average between these four cars, and they have got 11 minutes and 8 seconds to sort out who is going to get the podium positions, because 4 drivers into 3 does not go. Mark Gomez solidifies himself as the longest driver in the field, as he's continued on, but his best friend out on the racetrack, Simon Mesimo, has come in, and he's going to exit the pit lane, should be ahead of Ryan Campbell, I believe. Yes, we'll be ahead of him by a couple of seconds by the time he fully gets out of the pits, and you can see Rain going into the background. If you had a needle eye there, we're looking in the top right corner of your screen. So now it's going to be absolutely flat out for Gomez. It's going to be flat out for Mesimo. Gomez will look to do the overcut, try and get ahead of Mesimo in try and keep his position ahead of Mesimo. Through the pit stops with Mesimo will be trying the undercut. Let's see which one is the better strategy. I don't know, a little bit of green might look nice in that car. Fluoro's all the rage, isn't it? In the karting scene, I believe. I think it's very popular as well since Lando Norris has been wearing a bit in Formula 1. And there you go, Mark Gomez has indeed pitted, so we will see how that battle for third place is going to play out. Of course, Eamon Lufwait's in the lead. Samuel will retain second place unless he makes a big mistake. The big battle now is Gomez versus Mesimo for the top 3 in the elite split and the overall. And it is Christensen, Baldwin, Gander and Arnott battling out for the 3 podium positions in the open split. These are the battles we want to follow, as well as this one that is on your screen right now between the 2 Twitchy Foot Racing entries of Campbell and Woods, and then Jake Slade for Revolution E-Racing behind them. And Mark Gomez comes out of pit lane. Where's Mesimo? Where's Mesimo? Can we see him? Has Gomez done enough? Looks like on my timer screen like he's going to have done enough, and indeed looks like he's extended his advantage on Mesimo through that pit sequence. Just needs to make sure he isn't slowing down with the car behind. No, he isn't. So Mark Gomez puts one hand onto the bronze position in this race. Can he put the second on it? We'll have to wait for another 8.5 minutes to find out.
So 65% fuel. I'm going to take a punt and say these guys can put tyres on in that time. Not too sure on that one, but it'll be interesting to see the outlap if he can get those tyres up to temp and hold Simon off.
Yeah, and there's Mesimo, and thankfully for Gomez, he's got a car between him and Mesimo. How important could that be? We just saw Mesimo getting caught behind, I'm not sure what vehicle that is, but he'll be wanting that car to get out of the way as soon as is humanly possible, so that he can continue fighting and battling with Gomez, because he's not got many laps to do it. There he is. He has got ahead of that back marker now. The gap is 1.6 seconds. So it's grown by about a second through the pit stop phase so far. And it's about a lap before you start to get... It's not linear when you're bringing the tyres up to speed. The first lap is always the most important, and you've got more time to gain, more performance to gain in those first half of a lap, and then you will through the second lap, if that makes sense. So Gomez looks to have done enough as long as he doesn't make a big mistake. Yeah, calm commentary, and I know Josh is battling an illness, and I can feel my nose is a bit blocked, and I'm having to be a bit careful and try to make sure I pronounce N's. So forgive me if anything doesn't come out quite clear, but I'm definitely feeling a lot better than Josh, who frankly is a warrior for getting on and doing the stream at relatively late notice. Samuel putting in the fastest lap, so he's thinking he might be able to make a race of this. However, he has got 5 seconds to find on Aiden Lithway, and we know it is one thing to catch and another thing to overtake, so that might just be taking the fastest lap for the point that is on offer and for the bragging rights, and maybe just to try and bait Lithway into going for it. The faster you can make the guy ahead drive, the more likely they are to make a mistake. So Samuel is not giving up on this at the moment, and that is what we love to see. No change in the battle for the open podium spots either. Christensen's still ahead of Baldwin, who's still ahead of Gander, who's still ahead of RR. If any of those positions are going to change, it looks like Gander is most strongly positioned of those 4 to take a position off Baldwin. Benwood's driving sensibly here. Don't think we're going to see an attack from him on his stablemate. Although he is within a second of it. So he is in that danger zone. And he does have 5.5 minutes, which would translate to roughly 3 laps remaining. If he does want to make a move, a little bit of a twitch on entry there.
I mean, not where you want one with this loaded ride as well. It's delay that throttle.
Yeah, it delays you getting turned into that long downhill right-hander as well. It's one of the most important corners on the circuit, so you'll lose a lot of time when you make just even small mistakes like that. Yes, they have both pitted, Woods and Campbell. The whole field is pitted, so the whole field has been cleansed.
So just bringing up the pit times there, as we can see. Aiden has actually taken another 6 odd litres more than everyone else as well, and he's still pulling a nearly 5 second interval, so yeah, driving out of his mind.
Out of his mind is absolutely correct. Other battles going on in the race. We've got Chuck Fuller Wong battling Dane Snellen for 8th place, less than half a second between them. Trent Allen's looking to come at Jonathan Hooper after that early pit stops. Trent Allen's recovered to 11th, which I think is a really decent drive from him, and it might become a top 10 finish if he can find a way past Hooper. And then we've got Nick Wood on the back of Adam Lavis. for 12th spot in its split, and this is that battle between Fung Wong and Hooper. And then of course we have that battle in the open split for the top 3 positions. Glenn Allard seems to have dropped off the top 3, but Baldwin has caught up to Christensen, so he's 1.5 seconds between Christensen in first and Gander in third in the open split. You are right, Muir is taking small chunks out of Aiden. He does seem to have the legs on him in this stint, but it's not by enough to catch him before the end of the race. But as we mentioned, it could be about trying to make sure Lufwait can't slack off at all, has to keep his pace up to try and pressure Lufwait into a mistake. But at the moment, Lufwait can afford to go a bit slower and still not just retain the lead, but retain the lead in a way where Samuel is not even close enough to think about launching a move. Yeah, I'd agree with that assessment, Chris. For Trent, he had early contact, pushed the car on to lap 7, pitted as early as he could, got himself cleaner, got the car repaired with his fast repair, and then just pumping in solid lap times ever since then. His lap time, its best is a 1:47.3, which is comparable to, say, Mark Gomez in 3rd place, comparable to Ben Woods in 6th. So he's definitely got a decent pace in that car, and he's had to run, not the optimal strategy, and he's managed to bring it up into 11th, which is a really good effort. I'm watching Adam Lavis. He's going to struggle to defend from Nick Wood here. Surely Nick Wood getting such a good run out of there. Tucked up right behind Lavis' rear ring, but not close enough to make a move. But Lavis feels like he has to go defensive. Tried to cover the inside. It's compromised his exit a little bit, and that's allowed Nick Wood to get up the inside, but not far enough up the inside to make a move. And now they're in the double right-hander, which is not a place to make an overtake. Not unless you're feeling very, very brave and confident in your brakes. You can just see at this stage, Nick Wood looking like the more confident of the 2 drivers. Let's see what's happened to Glenn Arnott here. Yeah, rears are crowd enough. Does manage to get on the brakes, stops that becoming a worse crash, and we'll be able to continue on without too much of an issue. Well, we're getting towards soon what will be the final lap of the race.
Yeah, I think Dave will be revelling in his 2,000 kilometre distance. His separation he's got from Trucker Joe at the moment. Team orders won't be heard. The radios are probably breaking up over there.
Yeah, you're right. Adam's defence is good. He's a very, very good driver. It's the best way to put it. There's no... I'm sure I'll be saying this. It's rare that he's the outright fastest in anything, but he competes for so many titles because he's super consistent. He's just always there or thereabouts, and he's very, very consistent in wheel to wheel. He races a lot of the cars where you are always in wheel to wheel battles. He enjoys those. So yeah, he's a really, really good benchmark. If you're beating Adam frequently, you are a very, very good sim racer.
So I think we'll be seeing 2 more by the looks of it. Aiden's just going to cross the line, maybe 10, 15 seconds shy of the hour mark, so laps.
Yeah, you can just see him on your tracker. There he is, just highlighted it for you. He's going to cross it with, 17 seconds to go.
Sorry, this will be last lap. Getting tired.
This will be last lap, yes. Yeah, because it does that funny thing, doesn't it? Depending on how much you cross it. Yes, he does do a lot for the club. Let's face it, he is the reason we have broadcasters at all. He's always in the broadcast chat, making sure that we're all sorted.
He's the reason anything works, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So does all the points.
Just a broad spectrum. Yes, he is the shadow president for sure.
Yeah, he just loves the club, doesn't he? Loves the club. It's what he does. What he does is the club. So he's just kind of person that if we ever lost him, then the club would struggle to fill that gap. It'd probably be multiple people, like when Bernie Eccleston left F1. And they were like, oh yeah, one person can't do this, let's replace him with like a whole team of people. I think that's what it would be like if if for some reason he was ever out of action. As we watch Adel Lufway taking what is for sure a victory lap. He's come off the boil on last lap was a 148.7, compare that to 147 dead for Samuel. So he's not taking any risks, he's going to bring it home safely, and why shouldn't he? He's absolutely earned that by pulling out that 5-second lead across the first 55 minutes of the race, and now he's taking it easy as he tours Portimão for one last time before taking the victory in the Porsche Cup round 9 at the GSRC. We're watching David Christensen. He is in the lead of the open class. He's driven a fantastic race. He's up 7 spots from where he started. He's got Adel Lufway cross the line to take the victory in the Porsche Cup. Samuel crosses over in second with the fastest lap of the race and only 2 seconds behind in the end. Mark Gomez will cross the line in third position, a further 15 seconds back, showing just how fast Lufway and Muir were across the hour here at Portimão. Simon Mesamo finishes a gallant fourth after trying his damn best to get past Gomez, but not able to make something happen before the end of the race, and indeed came under increasing pressure from Ray and Campbell, leading the 2 of the Trichy Foot Racing entries, but he was not able to get past Simon Mesamo. Ben Woods finishes in 6th with Jake Slade behind him for Revolutionary Racing. Then Dane Snellen in 8th after a mistake took him out of the podium hunt. Chuck from Wong finishes in 9th position. Jonathan Hooper should finish in 10th with Trent Allen behind him. And then Nick Wood looks like he's just got past Alan Lavis as they cross the start-finish line, and that will annoy Lavis, I am sure. But David Christensen now is going to cross the line, up 7 positions in the open split, coming from behind to beat Joe Baldwin, who will become the champion of the Porsche Open Cup for Season C of 2024 at the GSRC on a gallant return for the series. Gander finishes in 3rd place after a strong race, but down 2 positions from where he started, and then Dale Atkins will come home in 4th place in the Open and 17th overall, but very, very far behind Gander, 26 seconds between the 2 of them.
Yeah, well done. Kind of lost track of Dave coming in early. Came in on lap 9. Obviously had insider information on the pit strategy, and yeah, just plugged away and had a great race. So well done, Mr. Christensen.
Yeah, I think there was really high standard of driving out there. Really high standard of driving. Not very many mistakes out there at all. And a lot of drivers having really good recovery races, or just really showing what they're made of today. It's